Anti-Trump protesters turning out on the National Mall this weekend just 2 days before the Electoral College votes for president. As the 538 electors gather in their state capitals tomorrow, some Democrats are asking for more information about Russian interference in the election before they cast their votes. Joining me now here in Washington, Congressman Don Beyer of Virginia, who's calling for a delay in that vote, and Clay Pell, president of the Rhode Island Electoral College. And gentlemen, welcome to Fox News Sunday. Mr. Pell, 80 electors, 79 of whom happen to be Democrats, including you, have sent a letter to General Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, asking the following: whether there are ongoing investigations into ties between Donald Trump, his campaign or associates, and Russian government interference in the election, and require from Donald Trump conclusive evidence that he and his staff and advisors did not accept Russian interference. Mr. Pell, do you have any evidence of any coordination between Donald Trump or people around him and the Russians?
No. All we have is what has been released in public, that there has been an unprecedented intervention by a hostile foreign power in our electoral process. What I want is the information to be out there so that the American public and electors know who has been involved and make sure that we protect the integrity of the American democracy.
But with those questions that you ask, you don't have any reason to believe the answer is yes in terms of Trump being involved.
Oh, we know that there has been involvement by the Russians. We don't know the full extent of it. All we're asking for is the information to be released. Unfortunately, it appears that that information is not going to be released, and that's why tomorrow, when we vote in the Electoral College, I'll be putting forward a motion to, in fact, call for a bipartisan independent commission to investigate Russian interference.
Is that going to stop the vote tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely not. The vote will proceed in all the state capitals, including in Rhode Island, and I fully expect that Donald Trump will be formally elected as president tomorrow.
But you're going to call for the Electoral College. Now, is it just you, or are there going to be people in all the states where there are Democratic electors?
We'll see what happens in other states. In Rhode Island, I'll be introducing this motion to demand an independent commission. This should not be partisan. This needs to get out of partisan politics. This is about protecting democracy.
Congressman Beyer, you are asking Congress to pass a law to delay the vote tomorrow, in which, under the laws that currently stands, electors are going to vote, and you want to delay it until electors get the kind of intel briefing that Mr. Pell is talking about. But General Clapper issued a statement on Friday that there will be no briefing of Congress or the electors until, quote, the review is complete, the one that the president asked for, in the coming week. So in terms of delaying the vote tomorrow, do you give up?
No, I don't give up, but it's last minute right now. I first came out with this last week,
right,
with the hope that there still was time to bring Congress back. You know, because that date tomorrow is not set in the Constitution. It's an act of Congress to do that. And the whole point was that, that we basically asked the intelligence community and the president to declassify as much as possible without giving up sources and methods, so that the electors can make a good decision tomorrow.
But
when Reince was on earlier talking about delegitimizing the American system, is exactly the opposite. You know, the whole two-step electoral college process was to make sure that our electors were making the decisions of wise men and women.
But that was done back in the 1700s, when the communication and what the voters knew and what the electors knew was so hugely different. What you're in effect calling for is overturning the will of 130 million people who followed this election, who heard the allegations of the Russian hacking, who saw the fruits of it, and know as much as you do.
Well, exactly the opposite. I mean, Donald Trump is only the president-elect, only as appointing cabinet members, and because there's a two-step process. Because it was just the will of the American people, Hillary Clinton would be the president-elect. It's that two-step, that electoral college process, that has Mr. Trump in the position he's in right now. So let's honor that and give them the information they need to make a good decision.
Mr. Pell, I want to pick up on what Reince Priebus said in the previous segment. Isn't this really a partisan effort by Democrats to either overturn the election, or, if you can't overturn it, to call into question Trump's legitimacy as the president?
Absolutely not. I believe in the Constitution, and I believe that this is a real process. And I also believe that Donald Trump will be selected as president, and I support the peaceful transfer of power. But in the meantime, we have a meaningful role to make sure that the American public has this information and to make it absolutely clear that no foreign government should be able to get away with this. And I would suggest that the president step away from Twitter and start standing instead with the men and women of the intelligence community and getting on board with a bipartisan commission to make sure that we have the facts as the American people.
But let's look at who is supporting your effort. John Podesta, who was the chairman of the Clinton campaign, said that your letter, the elector's letter, raises very grave issues involving our national security. And some Hollywood celebrities sent this message to electors.
By voting your conscience, you and other brave Republican electors can give the House of Representatives the option to select a qualified candidate for the presidency.
What is evident is that Donald Trump lacks more than the qualifications to be president.
He lacks the necessary stability.
And clearly the respect for the Constitution of our great nation.
Mr. Pell, they're not talking about Russian interference. They're basically saying, we don't like Donald Trump, we voted against Donald Trump, and here's one more chance to try to stop Donald Trump.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about protecting this country from foreign intervention. That's something that we can all agree on. Donald Trump will be selected as president tomorrow, and I look forward to hopefully having him change his tone and stand up against the Russians.
How many Trump electors are you aware of who are going to jump ship, who are going to defect and not support Donald Trump?
I don't think that's in the cards. I think what is in the cards is that there are Trump electors who don't want to be out there publicly, but who do want this information, who do want to know who is involved and make sure to protect the integrity of the democracy, including for President-elect Trump, that no foreign country can do this in the future. We should have the facts.
But here's, I guess, the question I have. Let's say it's all true, and you know, you have a consensus from the CIA, the Department of National Intelligence, and the FBI that there was Russian interference. So what? I mean, obviously it's bad, and you want to stop it, and you want to have cyber security, but why hold Donald Trump accountable for that?
Donald Trump was on this show 1 week ago disputing that claim. He was saying that the FBI disagreed with the CIA.
Right.
He was suggesting that this is all that he would not be holding the Russians accountable. That is what we should not be doing. We need to be clear that the Russians were involved, and we should get the information out there.
But does it in any way call into question Donald Trump's legitimacy as president?
No. Donald Trump will be selected tomorrow. And I will stand by the will of the people, speaking through the constitutional process that we have. And the reason I'm here today is to defend that process. And until we change the Constitution, the Electoral College has a meaningful role, and I intend to uphold my oath to the Constitution.
Congressman Beyer, here's what I don't understand. If they were successful, perhaps not Mr. Pell, but some of the others who want to see 37 electors defect, faithless electors, and either vote for Clinton or vote for somebody else, it would just be thrown, well, if they went for Clinton, but let's say that there was a tie, nobody got 270 and it was thrown into the House. Each state delegation gets one vote. Let's put up where the count stands. In the new Congress, 32 states have GOP majorities, 17 have Democratic majorities, and there's one state that is tied, is split down the middle. Wouldn't Donald Trump just win in the House?
Well, a Republican would win in the House. There's really no expectation that an elector that deserts Donald Trump will vote for Hillary Clinton. They're more likely to vote for a different Republican, a Kasich or whoever. And I disagree a little with my friend Clay about the legitimacy of the Trump election, in the sense that if we have clear evidence that Paul Manafort, that Roger Stone, that General Flynn, even the last Trump press conference, the last one back in July, where he ended the press conference by turning to the camera and saying, hey, Russians, go hack Hillary's emails. There's enough there that we should see the intelligence reports and let the electors make a good decision.
But you don't have any evidence of any coordination.
Oh, I haven't seen the intelligence reports.
Okay.
But one last
quick question. Do you really think that Hillary Clinton lost the election because of Russian interference? Because right after the election, you were quoted as saying, we lost touch with white, working-class, rural America. 2/3 of Americans think we're on the wrong track. You didn't talk about Russian interference. You basically said the Democratic Party is out of touch.
Well, I think there are many reasons why she lost that election, and the Russia may be a piece of it. And I don't know how many votes that actually moved. So let's let the commission, as Clay talked about, and the intelligence reports that we hope to see.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you both for coming in today. We'll see how the Electoral College votes tomorrow.